It's the year 66 AD. In the eastern reaches of the Roman Empire, a storm is brewing. What began as local unrest in the province of Judea has erupted into a full-scale revolt against Roman rule. The spark had been lit in Jerusalem, where tensions between the Roman authorities and the Jewish population had escalated beyond control. The massacre of Roman garrisons in response to the looting of the temple treasury and the defiance of imperial authority signalled that the Judeans were no longer willing to endure foreign domination. What was to follow was also a strong signal to the church in Jerusalem to heed a warning given decades before. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, you will know that her desolation is near. Then let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let those in the city get out, and let those in the country stay out of the city. For these are the days of vengeance, to fulfill all that is written. Luke chapter 21, verses 20 to 22. In response to the growing insurrection, Emperor Nero himself ordered the governor of Syria, Cestius Gallus, to restore order. Nero, often depicted as a mad tyrant, sought to reinforce Roman dominance and suppress any signs of rebellion. He saw the revolt as a direct challenge to his authority and demanded swift retribution. As the commander of the powerful Legio XII Fulminata, along with auxiliary troops and allied forces, Gallus led a formidable army southward. His objective was clear: crush the rebellion before it could spread and reassert Roman control over the rebellious province. Gallus, like many Roman generals before him, underestimated the determination of his enemy. He believed that a swift show of force would bring the rebels to their knees. What he did not anticipate was the depth of Jewish resistance and the perilous terrain that awaited him. The Jewish revolt was not just about taxation or Roman occupation. It was about identity, religious autonomy, and a deep-seated resentment toward foreign rule. Many Judeans saw the revolt as a fight for survival, for the preservation of their traditions and beliefs against an empire that sought to impose its will upon them. As Gallus's forces advanced, they met resistance from Jewish fighters who knew the land intimately. The Romans, trained for open field battles, found themselves embroiled in a war of attrition and hit and run tactics, ambushes and relentless skirmishes. Still, Gallus pushed forward, capturing several towns along the way, leaving a trail of destruction in his wake. In November of 66 AD, Gallus finally reached the outskirts of Jerusalem. His forces encamped outside the city, preparing for an assault. Many within Jerusalem feared the Roman legions would breach the walls and raze the city. Yet the Judeans, fueled by their cause and sheer desperation, fought back with incredible tenacity. For 5 days, brutal clashes erupted as the rebels defended their city with unyielding determination. The narrow streets and fortified positions of Jerusalem made it difficult for the Romans to press their advantage. Despite superior weaponry and discipline, Gallus's army struggled to break through. Then, in a baffling turn of events, Cestius Gallus made a fateful decision. He ordered a retreat. The reasons remain debated. Some sources suggest supply shortages and difficulties in maintaining a prolonged siege. Others point to strategic miscalculations. Perhaps Gallus feared being cut off from reinforcements, or he underestimated the strength of the Jewish defenders. Whatever the cause, the retreat would prove to be one of the greatest disasters in Roman military history. As the Romans withdrew, the Judean rebels saw their opportunity. They pursued Gallus's retreating army, harassing them at every step. The Roman columns, burdened by their baggage and slowed by the rough terrain, became increasingly vulnerable. And then, at Beth Horon, the trap was sprung. The Judean forces, led by experienced and relentless fighters, launched a devastating ambush in the mountain paths of Beth Horon. The Romans, caught in a bottleneck, were unable to maneuver. Arrows and projectiles rained down from above. Legionnaires fell by the thousands as the once disciplined army descended into chaos. The Battle of Beth Horon was a disaster for the Romans. They lost nearly 6,000 men, including many of their best trained soldiers. The Legio XII Fulminata was shattered, and its standard, the revered eagle insignia of the Legion, was captured by the rebels. This was an unthinkable humiliation for Rome, a symbolic and strategic catastrophe. When word of the defeat reached Rome, the empire was stunned. Never before had a Roman army suffered such a humiliating loss at the hands of a provincial rebellion. The Senate and the Emperor Nero himself were enraged. This was no longer a minor uprising. This was a full-scale war. The failure of Gallus ensured that Rome's response would be swift, brutal, and absolute. The victory at Beth Horon emboldened the Judean rebels. For a moment they believed they had defied the greatest empire on earth. But their triumph would be short-lived. Rome does not forgive, nor does it forget. And soon, a new commander would arrive, one whose name would be etched into history with fire and blood. Nero, vowing to crush the rebellion, would personally oversee the campaign from afar, ensuring that the empire's wrath was felt. Meanwhile, the Christians of Jerusalem, taking advantage of the momentary lull in hostilities, were to set upon a journey that would take them into the wilderness and away to the safety of the Decapolis to the northeast, an act that would preserve the early Jewish church from the wrath about to descend on the Old Covenant centre of Jerusalem.